Nubian Mermaid. This is my brand new channel, and today I'm going to be talking about cultural appropriation. So I wanted to start it off with a bang. We'll see how this is received in the YouTube community. So let's get started. So cultural appropriation is taking someone else's culture as your own. So pretending that it was you doing everything when you know damn well that it was not. So basically, one good example of this that people don't like to talk about is the fact that about the Pilgrims and the what we call the Native Americans, so the people who were originally in this land, which we'll talk about in another video because it's not the people that we think were here. So you have these pilgrims, the crazy hats, the Mayflower, what have you, supposedly came here because they were being so tortured and persecuted in England that they had to go elsewhere and, seek out new frontiers and all that cute and adorable stuff. None of that happened. So what actually is the reason that many of the people came here was because they were sent out. They were not contributing to society. Many of them were prisoners, weren't paying their taxes and different things like that. So they were like, okay, you know what? Told you time and time again to stop eating that person. I told you time and time again to leave those animals alone. And you didn't do it, so get out. I do it in a British accent, but my British accent's not that great. So that was more along the lines of what happened. I don't know if they were eating people, that's the example that I like to use, because people like to use that for African people, so I'm gonna put it back out there. So basically, they were sent off to this new land. They probably got on their ships. I don't know if that happened. And came here to this land. This time they weren't lost, right? It wasn't like Christopher Columbus thinking that he was in the United States when he was actually in India or whatever happened. Thinking that he was in India, I apologize, when he was actually more in the Americas. Yeah, it wasn't that. So they actually got the right spot this time. They came here and started bothering people. So this is the thing, and that I try to explain to people because it's illogical. If you were coming here for religious freedom, to leave this persecution, you wouldn't come here and start persecuting other people, which we know is what actually happened. So they get here, they start taking people's food, killing people, kidnapping their children, doing basically the same things that they were doing in England, but over here, right? In a nicer, warmer climate, so a little more comfortable for them to do it. And in addition, they got smallpox scabs, like you took it off their skin and put it in blankets and gave it to the Native Americans as gifts when they had already been feeding them, helping them out, teaching them how to track the land. That is actually what happened. But that's not as romantic of a tale as saying that John Smith came here and found Pocahontas and they loved each other because all cultures can work together. I'm very sure that all cultures should work together, and they could, but that's not what happened. So let's just be real. So cultural appropriation in that case is that people, these pilgrim people, act as if they were actually the first people in this land. They were the founding fathers. That's not true. If you already had people here, then what are you founding? Okay, that's example number one. Don't like that. I needed to put that out there because it's very frustrating when people still go around with this romantic tale of saying, oh, the pilgrims came here for religious freedom. I was actually shocked when I heard somebody say that a couple years ago because I didn't think people believed that anymore. It's just not true. Another great one, of course, Egyptians. Everybody wants to claim that they are Egyptians or Caucasian people, which is not possible because Egypt is in Africa. And when you live in Africa, you become very, very dark. So Egypt, of course, we think about Egypt, we hail Egypt as one of the biggest, most established dynasties and times where, there were so many inventions made, people were rich, people were thriving, people were doing great. It was a thriving time where people were actually developing knowledge, learning about algebra, creating writing systems. They taught these to Greek people, but they are not the ones who came up with it. So it is very frustrating when you have movies like Gods of Egypt, where the person in the leading role is like some Caucasian person, because it's never the other way around. So that's what people get very upset and like, oh, it shouldn't matter because we are all a part of the human race. Yeah, that's true. However, when I see a movie with a Greek person, I'm probably not going to go see it, but that's neither here nor there. You don't expect to go and see Shamar Moore in the leading role because Shamar Moore is clearly not a Greek person, right? And then at the same token, it is not right for Elizabeth Taylor to be playing Cleopatra because she was not Egyptian. She's not a black woman. She's not Egyptian. And that people don't seem to when people are not of that race, it seems that people don't understand the issue with that unless you give them an example where they're in it, and that's not okay. We should all be able to empathize with each other, but the fact that we can't is the reason that this happens. So another example that I had, this happened maybe earlier this year, late last year, I'm not sure. There was a movie that came out, of course, a horror movie, which I would never go see, about a Japanese forest where there are these ghosts coming out, grabbing people, you know, all that kinds of crazy stuff. And it actually was based on a real forest in Japan where people go specifically to commit suicide. That's not funny. That's not entertaining. It's actually sick that you can make fun of a group of people for something like that. I mean, I just kind of feel like if the world knows that this is what this forest is ritually used for, then they can have some empathy to be like, you know what? Why don't we try and figure out how to counsel these people so that they won't have to do this? I mean, there were thousands, apparently, of people, maybe I'm exaggerating, who go to this forest specifically to commit suicide. That is what the forest is known for. One of the young people, a Japanese person, mentioned that, you know, you go there and you see like all these clothes and articles of other human beings who went there specifically to commit suicide. How is that something to make fun of? That this person who said this was talking about, you know, I'm tired of seeing white people take everything, pretend it was them, and then they're making money off of it. It's insulting. And one person actually came back at them, was like, well, I don't see why you're upset about this. It's all just entertainment. And it's like, that's where the problem is. How can you not see that this is wrong? You're making money off of it. These people are dead. These are people who are related to other human beings. And people want to use the example that we're all a part of the human race. We should all be able to work together, and this is separating all of us. But they don't act like that's not what they're trying to do. It seems like you're trying to separate people. I mean, you think a person is going to love you because you're making fun of the forest where their relative possibly went to commit suicide? You think that's, why would you think that's okay? Where would you, what gave you the idea that that was a good idea? So there's that. And then what else did I want to talk about? Just the idea that the reason why I bring up so much African history, besides the fact that I want to, and I'm an adult, is because everything that you read and see on the internet these days, and in books mostly, about Africa is negative, right? You see the flies on the children and the distended bellies, and people look like they're starving, and they claim it's so AIDS ridden and this and that. But when I post something that is positive for African people, I get quite a bit of backlash. But there is no backlash or no issue or no agreement from certain people when I post things saying, okay, look at this person that was lynched, and look at these people standing around laughing and eating sandwiches. It's not okay. Cultural appropriation, the few examples that I gave, is not right. It's becoming incredibly old, and it happens all of the time. I mean, we've seen movies where there are black musicians, they have a certain song to a certain beat, it's fast. A couple weeks later, the white person is at the top of the charts, and their song is the exact same song, but at a slower pace. And people don't see an issue with this. I feel like people are lying when they say that they don't see an issue with this. I honestly do, because anytime you as a human being have something stolen from you, we should all have an issue with it. We should all have an issue with all the black children that are being shot down. But it seems that only a few of us have an issue with this. I have a problem with that too. So I'm kind of rambling now, but that is what I wanted to talk about. Cultural appropriation is the taking of another person's culture and passing it off as your own. And then I add the little part in there, and getting mad when you're caught and denying that you're doing that, because that's what, you know, that's what people do. So I don't know. I think the director of this Gods of Egypt movie got confused when people told him, like, hey, what's with all the white people in the movie? And he was like, oh, the Egyptians were white. And it's like, no, they weren't. That's why we asked you, what's with all the white people in the movie? So that's that. I get really, really upset about this, and I probably should stop talking about it. So that's that. So introducing my channel, because I don't want to go on too much longer, I'm going to be talking about a lot of stuff: natural hair, eating to grow your hair out, eating to have great skin. I love food, so there's going to be a lot of food stuff on this channel. and of course other Black cultural things like this. And I'm going to disable the comments because I do not with foolishness. So that's that. My website is www.thenubianmermaid.jimdo. That's JIMDO.com, and it features a lot of different things. So I have sections for recipes and section for erotic fiction, which you would have to get a subscription for to be able to view. So obviously you have to be an adult to view it. And daily articles or weekly articles. Not on the daily article tip yet. I like to interview people, so if you are interested in being interviewed, you would need a subscription for that as well. Let me know what you'd like to talk about. I like to feature business people a lot because I want to get people who don't always have an audience for their business out there on my page and figure out how to get it circulating really well. And yeah, that's it. I hope I didn't ramble too much. This is one of those topics that really frustrates the hell out of me. So if I did, if I rambled, that's why. That's an excuse. So I'm gonna go, and I appreciate you all watching this. You can definitely subscribe because right now I probably don't have any subscribers, which is kind of sad because I started over from 0. And rate it if you like, but you can't comment because I disabled the comments. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. Bye everyone.